Just imagine you're sleeping, your little baby is sleeping, you're living on the fourth floor, and you hear the alarm, and you have 30 seconds to run there.
30 seconds.
Sometimes 15 if the rocket is coming from Lebanon. If from Iran, yes, we have more time. Thanks, Iran. This is how we live here.
Yeah, it is. Oh, there's interception right above us. Interception right above us. Wow. Oh. Wow. Wow. That was loud. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I hope. Video? Yeah. Yeah?
It's like thunder. It goes on and on. Help us build this new outreach. Subscribe to the channel and invite people in your sphere of influence to do the same. Doing so helps us spread top quality, accurate reports about and from the world's only Jewish state and the global front of worldwide news. It also helps ensure that you do not miss new reports. All of us at Tipping Point thank God for your partnership in spreading the truth about Israel, especially in such a time as this. Reporting from Israel, Northern Israel this week, and for EndTimes.com, this is Brian Schroger. It is easy, too easy, to think about the war with Iran purely in terms of strategy. Who's making what move and why? What will the next moves be? Who will win the game? But of course, it isn't a game. Life is at stake. And not just the life of the Jewish state, but also, and no less important, the lives of individuals are on the line. What is it like to live in a country under constant missile attacks from an enemy who wants to kill you, your family, your community? Unless you have lived under a state of war, it is difficult, perhaps impossible to understand, at least without hearing from real-life people who are in that situation, which is what we get to do today. Several days ago, I decided to get a change of scenery. I drove from Jerusalem to Akko, just north of Haifa. By the way, everyone in Israel calls the city Akko. For some reason, Crusaders named it Aker in English, apparently after a Saint Aker. All that to say, when you hear Akko and look for it on an English map, you need to remember its odd spelling there, A-C-R-E. When I drove up on Friday, a trip that normally takes 3 hours took only 2. Fortunately, there were no sirens on the way. But when I arrived, we had 3 or 4 right in a row. I may have escaped Jerusalem for a few days, but I did not escape the Iran regime's genocidal rage for the world's only Jewish state. While here, I was happy to meet up with my friend Anna Benko. I met Anna 4 years ago in the country of Moldova. Anna, her husband Alex, and their son Kai were making Aliyah to Israel. They arrived in the same plane that brought me home. Ever since, we have stayed in touch. Anna and her family came from Russia, arriving with nothing. I had a sense they were going to do well, and they have, but not without challenges, including COVID, the 7 October War, and now Operation Roaring Lion. What is it like to work, live, love, and raise a child in Israel these days? With the added clarity of English subtitles I have burned onto what follows, let's find out for ourselves as together we meet up with Anna Benko. Well, hi, Anna. Thank you for meeting up to do this. I really appreciate it. It's been a while.
Yep.
Remind us who you are.
Who I am.
Yes.
I'm Anna. First time I met Brian 4 years ago. April 7 will be 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, in airport of Chisinau. It's in Moldova. When me and my family, we were doing Aliyah, we were escaping war, which Russia started with Ukraine. Yes, and as we were lucky enough, I was lucky enough to marry Jewish. as we say now, Jewish, it's not something special. It's your way to transport around the world. We did Aliyah in Israel. And this is when I met Brian first time. And since that, we became friends. And I think for Brian, I'm an interesting book, which he's sometimes calling and asking how it's going here in Israel. So I can give you some updates how we are doing here. Last time we probably met when there was another Iranian war.
Right. The last time I was here, you had rockets coming in almost every day. Toward the end of the war.
Which one it was?
I believe, it was after October 7, but I believe it was in 20, and you were having rockets on almost several times a day from Hezbollah.
From Hezbollah. That was
right.
Hezbollah because it was very without previous notification.
Yeah, they're very close to us here in Akko.
Yeah, we are in Akko.
Yes.
That was the city, actually town, which we choose to stay in. And we're still here. And we still love this place. And you probably will be surprised, but we still love Israel. And people keep asking us why we don't live it. Probably we enough assimilated to feel more safety here than outside of the country. Yeah, today we have rockets from Iran and from Hezbollah, sometimes from Yemen. So now we are much, much more famous than we used to be. And it's interesting.
In fact, yesterday, we were just hanging out, and I forget why we were over at another building, but while we were there, all of a sudden, a siren went off.
What will be? We will die. I'm your journalist. Today is April 4th, Shabbat day, and we have missiles from Iran coming to us. We were driving far away. And you can the siren. You can see the people going to miklat because what is miklat? It's a safety space. The old building like this, they have common safety places. And actually, just imagine you're sleeping, your little baby is sleeping, you're living on the 4th floor. And you hear the alarm, and you have 30 seconds to run there.
30 seconds.
Sometimes 15 if the rocket is coming from Lebanon. If from Iran, yes, we have more time. Thanks, Iran. This is how we live here.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's it. We can go.
Oh, there's an interception right above us. Wow. Oh. Wow. Wow. That was loud. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I hope.
Video?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's like thunder. It goes on and on. The interceptions seem louder here than in Jerusalem.
Yeah. Loratza.
Well, you've got a miklat in your house.
Yes, I have mamat in my house. It's called mamat.
Mamat.
And always when my kid is sleeping and there are attacks, I just thank myself, God, everyone, that I was able to do it for him. Because I can't imagine mothers keeping their babies and running to mamat. I saw kids are crying. And of course, they try to make it comfortable for them. Even some people even sleep with their kids in mamat, in the class. Yeah, I know my friend in Haifa. Her son is same age as mine. And they live on the 4th floor. And they were sleeping in miklat, because she's not able to run with him. They don't have father.
I think that's it for now. Thank you, Iran.
Now we are in Ahihud forest, and you can hear the missiles are coming again. Take a look on the Israeli path. You can see place called probably Barzel industrial zone. Somewhere there on the north is our city, Haifa, Akko. So peaceful, so quiet.
Yeah.
And that human being know what to do with this peacefulness. Yes, Shani? Now you are the star.
This missile alert is for almost all of northern Israel, not just here near Akko. Let's see if we get big bangs like we did an hour or so ago.
Wait for it. How the Palestinians are down. See it, Shani, see it. See it. See it. You're scared. You're scared. You're so dirty.
Is she scared?
I think yes.
Oh.
This war, we always ask, we beg her to follow to Matt. You know, she's
Right.
lying on the sofa. Are you sure? Those Iranians? Action, I thought it's going to be like, oh, we're running. And the sky is falling on us. Like in a movie. But that one really sounds like fireworks.
I know.
That's it.
Just you think it's over. One more.
When Kai was in a kindergarten, they were showing them a cartoon explaining what's happening. And there was a rocket coming, and the rocket from Iron Dome, it was a green long rocket with a mustache. She was saying, I'm going to hug another rocket. A couple of years, Kai was thinking that they are hugging, they're in the sky. And you know what? During this war, Kai, of course, asked me what happened. And he hears around that Iranians are attacking. And he started thinking that Iranians are bad. And what I'm doing as a mother, I try to explain him that not Iranians are bad, that there are people in the government who did this.
Yeah.
Certain people like we, usual people like we, they are suffering even more than we do because they don't have safe space. They don't have Iron Dome. And it's very, very important, I think, to explain people because I really don't want my kid to start hating someone just because he's Iranian or he belongs on a society.
Yeah. I think we're done for now. That was dramatic. And yet it happens all the time. It's so strange because it's become a new normal. And yet it isn't normal at all.
The thing is that it's not just became a new normal. Like your life is changing and this new life, it's your new normal. No, it works differently. You need to live your life as you used to be with the brakes on the sirens.
Right.
And it's freaking awkward, honestly.
Yeah.
Because your mind is like, okay, should I be scared? Should I be, ready for everything? And you're like, no, you shouldn't. Relax. Just focus when there is an alarm. Run when there is alarm. Protect your kid when there is alarm. Rest time, just sleep, go to your job, I don't know, do gardening. And it's hard. It's hard and it's against human nature, I think. Maybe that's my answer because this war for me is the hardest one. I should have been more prepared, more experienced and react differently. But I'm not. And the first couple of weeks, I even lost the connection between my mind and my body. And it felt like I should be scared, but I'm not. And I'm laughing, for example. I got a new type of laugh, hysterical one. I can show you if you want.
Yes, show me.
I'm going to start telling stupid things. Okay. So reacting like this, and I understand that I'm scared just because my palms are sweating and the heart is beating. And also I start feeling guilty. I probably had that previous war, but I forgot about this. And now, for example, why guilty? Because I am too protected. First of all, I live in a place with mamad. Mamat, it's when you have a shelter in your apartment.
Right.
So my mamat is my bedroom. And we just, all the family is small, so we sleep together. And when there are sirens, my kid is sometimes even not waking up. And I have a lot of friends who don't have it. And during the night, during the day, they need to run downstairs to places called miklat. Miklat, it's like a big shelter, usually downstairs on the 0th floor. It's common shelter.
Well, we explored a few of those today. Let's take a look. Where are we? What are we looking at here?
We are in Akko still.
Right.
And me and Brian wanted to show you miklat. What is miklat? Miklat, it's a common shelter. Like people who are living in this district, the part of building. So there is this is the old building and people who are living in this part. So there are 4 floors, 2 apartments each floor. So when they hear alarm, they go out. Here they are. They go out, and this is their miklat. So miklat, it's a common shelter. We have mamat, miklat. So it's very clever close, and it's
wow, that's one heavy door.
Wow, very heavy. And probably those they did it cozy. They did it cozy. Right? So yeah, they have kids corner, and I think my friend Masha did these cards.
Oh, nice.
She's designer and probably it's her pet. So this is how it looks like. Actually, it's small. I'm not sure if it will be direct shoot. The people from here are going to survive. But, from non-direct. This one is bad. Another one. That good and cozy. Just imagine the fact that you are with a small child who is sleeping and you need to take it and come here, then to stay.
How long do they have to get to the shelter here?
We have 15. From 15 to 30 seconds.
Where are we now?
We are on another building.
Yeah.
It's a bit younger.
Yes.
It's not that old. And also it was renovated. And my friends are living here. So we have a safety thing here. The door is not that heavy, actually. But they have 2 doors.
Wow.
I was sitting with them here.
Oh, very.
It's like,
Very nice.
Here, I was here with them 3 times. Each one is sitting always on their place.
Of course.
They already have their places. And they have rules, like they need to maintain the clean.
Very nice.
They have TV sets.
Wow.
And also the toilet. Remember to check the toilets in the previous days. 3 toilets. They're actually clean.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not bad.
This is the miklat from people who are taking care of their miklat.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you come in the miklat, you do have to shut the door, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
latch it.
Door, first one, and
Yep.
the second one. Yeah, so you saw them. They not always friendly, let's say. Some of them are cozy, some of them not. Not sure if Brian will show you everything we should. Yeah, because we saw one with the puddle and the
Mold.
Yeah, we saw one with the puddle, with the mold. And I always thinking about how it's to carry your kid to wake him up and go there, and the sound of siren, it's turn on your inner anxiety. You need to run. So yeah, it's hard. And another point, when I feel guilty, is that I know that the war happens between some people who has power, not from common citizens like I am.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that there are in Iran the same mother who is doing, advertising or doing lunch for their kid, and she's worried, and she even has no shelter. And I think about Ukrainian people who are already for years are living like this. And if for Iran, I can say, yes, but it's an old conflict and I became just part of it just now. But what can I say for Russia and Ukraine? I was part of it for a long time, and it's a big conflict which I have into my soul. And, my therapist is telling me that it's typical for people to be worried. And like, there are people like that who wants to help. But the thing is that I cannot do anything for them. I just can wake up in the morning, prepare breakfast, go to the work, pay taxes, I don't know, pray or wish that everything will be okay. But it's hard. It's hard.
Tell us about the kind of work you do, because you have a job and Alex, your husband, has a job. And at the same time, you have a 6-year-old son, Kai.
Yeah. What kind of work I'm doing? I still do marketing.
Yes.
I still love it. Here in Israel, I had last summer, I think. Yeah. So last summer, I quit all my jobs, my online marketing jobs. And I went on a place called Mishtala. It's a place where you grow and sell the plants. And it was very, very good therapy for me. I felt much better. I started therapy. I'm not that rich to keep working there, so I came back to marketing. And now I work online, remotely. My company is based in Estonia. And actually for them, it's hard to understand why I'm still here. They like, just take your family and go out to Spain, for example. Like, okay, I've been killed there as a Jewish. Yeah. Of course, for my husband is working. And also he started his university. Yes, as he's learning Java. Yes. And together we do a project. Maybe you will know it in a couple months. I will not tell you more. It's a big secret. But I hope it will be very useful for a small and medium business.
You're developing an app. That's one thing you're doing.
Yeah.
You have like you have at least 2 jobs, right?
Yes, I do have. I have 2 jobs, like my project and my main job.
Right.
And same my husband does. He still has his job, the project, and also learning. We finally have a babysitter.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Well, that's good. Thank God.
The most supportive thing I could have. Yes. We experienced one interesting thing. My husband, his father had a heart attack a couple months ago. And we've been thinking, if he's gonna die, we would go in Russia or not. And the answer was not. We even have nightmares about appearing in Russia and not being able to. Sorry for skipping from topic to topic, but just I was thinking about babysitter and his grandfather staying with them. Yeah, so we haven't seen our parents for a long time, and now they don't feel good. My mother too, and they cannot come, but we cannot go.
So both parents, your parents and his, are in Russia.
Yes. Yeah. Our parents are in Russia. His parents choose to be in Russia. And my mother, she cannot come here. We need a Jewish husband if anyone wants to.
Right.
Back to my work. To be able to pay for an apartment with mama. Yes. So we have 4 jobs. A lot of people are working here. Like we work 6 days. We have 1 day off. Usually it's Shabbat. And we try to keep it mandatory because we need to rest.
And everyone here, at least in your family, you're speaking, 3 languages, right?
Yeah, I speak, I speak 4 languages. So of course I speak Russian.
Right.
I do speak English. I keep learning Hebrew.
Right.
It's much better. By the way, there is a direct connection between Hebrew and English. More you know Hebrew, less you know English.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. More you came back to English, less you remember Hebrew. I don't know why, but it worked like this.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that I know English because it still supports me a lot. And I have a lot of friends. A lot of friends here who are Israeli.
Right.
We speak English. And I even was able to get a 6-month course in a theater.
Right.
Yes. And I was acting and everything was in Hebrew and my education was in Hebrew, but I had a translator who was translating everything in English for me.
Very nice.
Of course, I was playing Russian girl.
Yeah. I came to see you in that play. That was really fun.
Really.
Yeah, I could see you as an actor. If you wanted to do it, I think you'd be great.
I didn't stop
Yeah.
in my acting career. Now I am a part of the group called the Po. We act in a style called playback. If you guys heard about it, it's a kind of improvisation. So we hear the stories what our visitors are telling us and retell it using special methods. But the thing is, it's in Russian, totally in Russian.
But it's improvisation, right?
Yeah, it's full improvisation.
Very interesting. That's fun. Talk to me about the internal balance and struggle between living in constant awareness that there will be a siren and missiles are coming in or rockets from Hezbollah, and at the same time, raising your child, trying to keep his life normal, and also trying to just carry on with normal life. It creates, I think, an inner stress, doesn't it?
Yes, with one word, yes. Of course, it creates inner stress. And of course, your life becomes limited. For example, if we go to playgrounds, we go in a special playgrounds with the safety spaces around. We do not go out somewhere in parks or whatever, on the forests.
Like we did yesterday.
Yes, without my son.
Right.
Because, of course, he's scared. For example, there is a special notification when Iran just launches the missile and it has sound. And all the animals, all the kids, especially my Kai, when he hears it, he just jumps and runs.
Even the dog jumps and runs.
Kai, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a missile. Because it doesn't, like when we hear that notification,
it's a
yes, the pre-alert, and it doesn't mean that the alert will be in our place.
Right.
And I try not to think, actually, no, it's lying. I'm thinking about what kind of person this gonna rise in him, because definitely he's gonna have this trauma. I'm doing special exercises with him, Jacob Sun, some relaxing exercises. I play with him. I allow him to play. I want him to play that war to relieve it. What about me? It feels one day, for example, I should have go with my friends outside in Haifa to drink some coffee.
Yeah.
We didn't went, and I was lying in the bed. It's surrealistic. Like my kid is sleeping, my husband is sleeping. There are booms. I just can't hear them. And I'm reading my Instagram reels, like nothing happens.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And also reading news, and there is a notification that the city Arad, it's on the south of Israel, was damaged, like a lot of buildings, and they had victims. But I read it wrong, and I read it Adar. Adar, it's a place where I should have been and drink coffee. And in a moment, I was so scared. I just warm like sparks in all of my body, and I shivered. And it took me 2 days. I was scared to go out. I forced myself to go out.
All right.
And, in a week, like yesterday with Brian, I was like, missiles, that's
right.
it. What's a peaceful sky?
Yeah, exactly.
So it goes ups and downs, ups and downs. You're scared today, scared tomorrow, you don't care. Not sure it's normal for my mental health. We'll see. This is the world we are living now. I have a friend who used to work as, how to say it, when you need to go up to building, but climber.
Like to wash windows?
Yeah.
Wow.
Climber during the sirens, they still work because they need to feed families. And they just keep working during the siren.
Wow.
Nothing to do.
Yeah.
Or, for example, people who work on the cranes,
Yes,
the highway.
Where can they go?
They should put on the helmet. My friend husband used to work, and he quit just because he didn't want to work during the war.
Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate you doing this.
You're welcome, Brian. Always happy to talk with you, and I wanted to show people how we live.
Thank you, Anna. Wow. Be sure to pray for Anna, Alex, and Kai. Before signing off and perhaps dodging yet another missile from Iran, or here in Akko, a drone from Hezbollah, One last thing. This is important. Please keep listening. Every day is a fire hose of important news about Israel and the war with Iran. How can you keep up? There is a way. Go to the Tipping Point chat feature. Along with a few Tipping Point members, John Anderson and I are posting stories pretty much 24/7. To reach the chat room and follow all the latest news, go to the website endtimes.com, then click on chat at the top of the page. When you see this page, the easiest way to open chat is by clicking below the QR code on the text that reads, or open on the web. The direct link to our chat room is substack.com/chat/10475. Again, substack.com/chat/10475. And for weekly summaries of major news about Israel, be sure to read the Weekly Dispatch from Jerusalem. Its title is From the Global Front in Israel. In addition to at least 10 top stories from the week, you will also find a brief essay, spiritual warfare tips, anti-Semitism news, and short biblical reminders. Last Friday's post includes a brief essay called Missiles, Passover, and the Mountains of Moab. It was inspired by a photo I took from my bedroom window that, with the help of zooming in, captured the spectacular mountains of Moab in Jordan. Take a look. Be sure to read, share, and use the Weekly Dispatch from Jerusalem. Armor up. Reporting from Akko in northern Israel for endtimes.com, thanking God for you, especially in these days, and until next time, this is Brian Schroger. Thank you for making the time to engage with this report. To watch future reports without advertisements and to stay informed with the latest insights from Jimmy Evans, Mark Hitchcock, and experts from around the world, including Israelis living right here in the Jewish state, and for only $7 a month, I urge you, become a subscriber at endtimes.com. Sign up today.